toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party starter.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin' Show. Our program's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We got a lot to talk about today, so welcome to program number 308.
That is precisely halfway to 333, which we will be celebrating this year.
We'll be throwing
this next year.
A big party next year for the 333rd show. So we're like, about 25, 26 shows away from that now.
Something like that.
So that's going to be
come
exciting.
up on us faster than we think.
Yes, it is. And so what we did at our 100th show was we invited everyone who'd ever been a guest on the show up to that point to join us on this one show. Now, obviously, not everybody could make it, but we had a pretty robust group of people that showed up, and everybody bought bottles and cigars and cans, and it was just kind of a free-for-all show. It lasted almost 4 hours.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So then what was going to happen is we were going to do it again for the 200th show, because it was going to be our exciting, 200th
show, right?
And there'd be twice as many people to invite. And it happened in the middle of lockdown. So we just decided not to do it, set our sights on 300, and then thought, that's just too predictable. Let's do 333. So that's the way it's going to go, and that's the way the show is going to be. So when we get to our 333rd show, grab some popcorn.
Trying to fool the fates by picking a number they wouldn't normally
exactly pick. We didn't want to mess everything up. So on today's program, we'll be taking a look at the lists that have started coming out of the best of the year, specifically about cigars, but we have another list that's kind of interesting. It's a list from something called www.conchovalleyhomepage.com/news, but in this article, beer snobs, self-admitted beer snobs, have picked and listed the best Texas beers.
Oh.
So I thought this would be interesting for you and me.
There you go.
To take a look and see if we think it's a good list, because our show originates from Texas, from Houston. And I can already tell you, if it's all Austin, I'm going to be pissed, because it shouldn't be. So, but anyway, this is our festive holiday show. I have chosen to dress festively in gray.
I see that. This is the least colorful shirt I've ever seen you in.
But it matches my gray hair and the gray stubble that I haven't shaved today. So I'm just... Gray is just a very non-festive color. but hey, I read somewhere this week, by the way, that apparently, according to those who know or are in a position to know, that red and pink are out as baby colors.
Or some people that make up shit. Go ahead.
Yeah. Apparently, red and pink are out as baby colors now.
Oh, yeah?
And something called sad beige is in.
Sad beige?
But
that's the name of the color?
Yeah, it's what the article called it. I don't know if that's the real name or not. But beige is kind of a sad color, if you think about it. But anyway, but I know I've seen that, millennials, I know more than one millennial that's kind of their color scheme of their house. Is kind of like the color scheme of your shirt. It's kind of all light and browns. You know how friends will sit around and tell jokes, and like one thing leads to another, and then you have this ridiculous ongoing joke that just keeps happening over and again. Right.
So one time, I don't even know how we got there, but we decided that there was a new car called the Dodge Intrepid. New exciting colors like taupe and beige. Now with AM and FM radio.
I think I've seen some of those circling around the building where I live.
We just had this whole promotional scene going on with the Dodge Intrepid.
The Dodge Intrepid, I like it. Well,
now with wheels.
It's apparently kind of like the color scheme thing now. It's sad beige, that for babies' rooms.
Well, I mean, you gotta go against what your parents had. Your parents had the '90s.
Yeah.
And that was very colorful. And the 2000s, which were also very colorful.
I've never had a newborn, but if I did, I would want the baby's room to be like paisley and tie-dye.
Yeah, why not?
As bright
Make it fun.
and interesting and colorful as
With
possible.
stars
Stimulating.
on the ceiling.
Yeah.
With the constellations on the ceiling.
Yeah,
'cause,
absolutely. Yeah.
why not?
Do it up, That's the way you should do it. Either that or like all like Batman. Everything would be Batman. Well, welcome to the show. We are, as I said, going to be talking about the best of the year, and we'll be doing some very interesting tasting as well. Our beer tasting for this week from the American Solera Brewery in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We'll be trying their Czech-Style snack called Kolache.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Now, I've lived all over the country, and every country has a particular thing that people love to eat there that's kind of unique to that area, right? And in Houston, it's kolaches. Not that you can't get a kolache outside of Houston, but they're everywhere here.
Oh, yeah. Kolaches are the bomb.
So I thought it was interesting that this
also,
comes from
kolaches
Tulsa.
are technically, some kolaches are technically named wrong because when you put a sausage in it, it's not technically a kolache, even though it's always sold as a kolache. It's called something else. I can't remember.
This isn't you.
But we just call them kolaches.
This isn't you saying that a vodka martini is not actually a martini, is it?
No, I'm just telling the technical. Like even though we call like a sausage kolache is it
technically
has another name.
Got it.
But
Why would
we just lump it in with the name kolaches.
Why would you want a kolache?
Breakfast
that didn't have
tacos
sausage
also
in
are
it?
not everywhere.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of a Texas thing, I think.
Yeah, that's very much a Texas thing.
Yeah, I think it is. But anyway, we'll be trying their Czech-style snack called Kolache.
That sounds
We'll
good.
also be trying from, and this is, I did this in honor of you. It's the last show of the year.
Oh, yeah?
So I thought this would be the time for me to bring it with a couple of big beers.
Okay.
So from Martin House Brewing in Fort Worth, Texas,
It's already going to be big.
we're trying their Put That Cookie Down Imperial Cookie Ale with lactose and vanilla.
That sounds fun.
From Martin House. I think
Those guys are fearless.
It's upwards of 10%.
They've kind of taken the place of what Dogfish Head was doing for a lot of years.
Yeah,
man.
that's right.
They're doing like
the
what
really, really big-
Ingenious does. Like they just are fearless.
Well, speaking of Ingenious,
Oh,
we'll be trying their Imperial. It's just the name of it is Imperial.
Imperial.
It's a peanut butter cup Imperial milk stout.
Nice.
From Ingenious. Also upwards of 10%.
Ooh, I love this.
So you'll be looking forward to that. And on a show where we're doing all that big stuff, you got to have a spirit that's going to step in and be nice
Drum
and big.
roll.
So say hello to my little book friend.
Ooh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Little book.
Yeah, this was given to me as a birthday gift for my 60th birthday. So
Somebody love you.
yeah, that was pretty special. So it'll be interesting
This
to
is the 2022 release.
Yes, this is the one that's called To the Finish. They give it a different little book name every year that has something to do with literature or something like that. And this one's called To the Finish, the 2022 release, and it
So
is
beautiful.
exciting.
Now, these usually come in like a wooden box.
Yes, I took
right?
it out of the wooden box to transport it here today, just because it fit into my bag a little better.
Nice.
But yeah, it comes in a very nice wooden box with a clear plexiglass type slidable front, and it's really good. So Freddie No, who is part of the long and distinguished line of distillers from the Jim Beam family, this is his creation. This is his baby, and they're very limited. They come out once a year, and they are always a little expensive and always sell out very quickly. So
Yeah, because they're 120-ish
yes,
or better.
something like that. Yep,
a piece. But man, I've never had a little book that wasn't just
outstanding.
stellar. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I think you're going to be excited about this one.
Nice.
So we'll be doing a lot of tasting today. We'll be talking about the top cigars of the year. We'll be bringing you a holiday edition of Drinking News.
Oh.
Which you can give me the little Drinking News teaser headline music if you want, but the teaser headline is Holiday Drinking News 2022. So a couple of holiday drinking news stories combined into one report. There's also a list of books that you could read to become a more knowledgeable drinker. And we were going to share this a few weeks ago, and we just never got to it, but I thought this might be a good show to do that in case you were asking for some last-minute gifts or something, you could put this on your Amazon wish list or whatever.
You could become an erudite drinker.
That's right, erudite. I like that word.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I look for reasons to use words that have multiple syllables.
I like that. Like in tepid.
Tepid.
So a lot of exciting things coming up on the show, and I'm assuming a lot of I almost forgot the most exciting thing. Ian's Adventures at the Lone Pint Brewery.
Ooh, that was fun.
Yeah, so you've got a little video segment you put together when you were at Lone Pint. So Lone Pint, obviously, for both of us, one of our favorite breweries.
So fun.
Just
And my band
cool.
was playing there that night. So there was well, I'll talk about it when a segment comes up.
All right, so we'll get to that coming up. In the meantime, I can only assume that a man like you has had the opportunity to smoke something interesting this week. Would I be correct?
I did, sir. I went and bought myself one of them there. Diesel Whiskey Rose. Now, you might think to yourself, didn't you do the Diesel Whiskey Row about 2 years ago? I did. But this is the sherry cask version.
And why would that stop you in any case? Because Whiskey Row's good stuff, man.
Yeah. So I like the diesels. Diesels are, like the name implies, they're big. They're kind of hardcore. They're not, if you're into mild to medium, don't pick up a diesel because it's not going to do you right.
You gave me a Diesel Whiskey Row last time.
I gave you the rabbit hole one
at the Christmas party, actually, and it was delicious.
Yeah, it's real good. But again, big cigars, like they start off full strength and they stay full strength. There's no backing off on them.
For sure.
And their whole line's like that. And I appreciate that because you always know what you're going in for, at least. So I had the Robusto 5x52. This is the Diesel Whiskey Row PX Sherry Cask Edition in conjunction with Rabbit Hole Whiskey and blended by none other than AJ Fernandez.
You gotta love him. You gotta love him.
So you can already assume a couple things by that, but I'll get to it in a minute. The wrapper is a Connecticut broadleaf, Brazilian binder, and Nicaraguan filler. Dark espresso brown wrapper, oily with some veins, firm feel overall, diesel band plus a sherry cask footer on it. So the diesels in general have just the footer a lot of times.
Right.
It says diesel.
Right, and that's the only
This one's a
band
little
that has,
different, right? This has the big diesel band up top and then has the footer on it that says what cask it is.
Right.
The pre-light sniff on this rich chocolate and coffee, mocha, and earth. Forgive me, my voice is in and out today. The pre-light draw on this I used a punch. I had a medium draw, rich oak and sherry, sweet dark fruit, chocolate, and earth all through that. The initial light on this Nicaraguan pepper blast. And it's not even a fully Nicaraguan cigar, but it's AJ Fernandez.
You kind of expect that, though, with AJ's stuff. Not
right.
always, but very often.
Nicaraguan pepper blast with sweet, fruity undertone, oak, and some mocha in there. The first third of this rich chocolate and espresso pair with oak, sherry, and dark fruit to create a full-body flavor bomb balance between sweet, fruity sherry, dry oak, coffee, pepper, and a kiss of cinnamon. The retrohale is oak and sweet pepper, solid ash, perfect burn. The second third is flavors remain constant throughout with the addition of toast and a little bit of leather. Retrohale is oak and sweet pepper, solid ash, perfect burn. When I say this, man, this thing burned like a laser all the way down. It was like a super straight line the entire time. You see it in the picture right here. Pepper and earth are more prominent in the last third. Big, dense smoke, great for smoke rings, delivers flavor puff after puff. Sherry and oak linger long on the aftertaste. Retrohale is oak and pepper with sweet leather. Solid ash, perfect burn. This cigar cost me $9.30. 5.5.
5.5. Nice.
5.5. I gave it a little bit above what you're paying for. I mean, it's just a great cigar. It's huge in flavor, though. So be very aware. If you like a full flavor cigar, this is a good place to go. Nice. But if you're more of a mild to medium, be aware.
Yeah. Well, diesel in general, you want to stay away from if you're not into bigger bodied cigars, because they generally will sock you in the palate if you're not careful.
How about you? Did you get anything smoked this week?
I did. I smoked an Arturo Fuente Reserva Extra Viejo number 55 Torpedo. And I've had Extra Viejo before. I think I've even talked about it on the show. But they release these are always limited releases each year. They can be a little hard to find, so I'm doing a sort of a Chris Hart style.
I smoked the Toro
of
that about 2 nights ago.
Did you?
And then when I was in Casa earlier today, I bought the exact cigar that you're talking about.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see if once you smoke it, you get some of the same things that I did. So this is a limited cigar. I was lucky enough to snag one at Casa. That's where I got mine. Casa de Monte Cristo. The Arturo Fuente Añejo Reserva, Añejo is Spanish for aged, shares the same quality filler tobaccos from the Opus X that are grown at the Chateau Fuente farm, but they use an extremely dark Connecticut broadleaf Maduro wrapper that's cured in cognac barrels for 6 to 8 months. It's a Dominican cigar using tobacco primarily from the Dominican Republic. Back in 1998, when the Arturo Fuente Opus X was just as big of a deal as it is now. Hurricane George ravaged the Dominican Republic, and it caused a shortage in the wrapper that was being grown for the Opus X. It was only being grown at one small Chateau de la Fuente farm, and with all this expertly fermented Dominican filler and binder still safe and raring to go, someone at Fuente had the inspiration to substitute a different wrapper, a dark and sticky sweet 5-year aged Connecticut broadleaf Maduro wrapper, which had been further rested in used cognac barrels, and that's how the Extra Viejo was born.
That's the story.
Very exciting. Yeah, it's a very classy-looking torpedo. Originates in a cedar sleeve with a red band around the foot. The pre-light on this baby, once I snipped the top of it off with my cigar scissors, rich, earthy notes on the pre-light sniff, vanilla, and on the draw, both of those things, but a hint of coffee bean also on the draw. I can't express vanilla enough. I don't know that I've ever picked up big vanilla on a pre-light sniff before, but it was definitely here. So I used, as I said, my cigar scissors. I lit this baby up, and off I went on a journey of the senses. First third had big flavors from the get-go. No Nicaraguan pepper blast, because it's Dominican tobacco.
Right.
And not that it couldn't, but you don't expect that as much from Dominican tobacco. But the flavors were really, really big. Oak, molasses, spice, and vanilla. Perfect draw, perfect burn. The second third, more oak. Picked up a bit of tea leaf, some earth, and a kind of a fermented tobacco note. Very, very pleasant. Touch of red pepper on the retrohale. By the time I got to the final third, this rich tobacco goodness just was almost overwhelming. It was so prevalent. Leather, vanilla, a touch of sweetness on the palate, which in my experience, most cigars, even really, really good ones, are a little bit harsher in the final third. This one became a little sweeter in the final third, which is a very interesting change up for me. Construction was flawless, which is not a surprise for a Fuente. This is not a cheap cigar, but I have to say it's one of the most enjoyable smokes that I've had in a very long time. $13 to $14 is the suggested retail price. Price to quality at $13 to $14 a six.
Wow. Yeah.
It was good. It was one of those times where you're smoking that you're not just smoking a cigar, you're just really getting it. You're getting this whole experience.
The cigar, yeah.
And so maybe it was the right moment, the right time. I don't know, but for me, I just super, super enjoyed it. So one of the best cigars I've had this year.
Nice.
So, yeah, very, very cool. So that's our opening salvo. I want to go ahead and take a break and get back into the tasting because we have some really fun stuff to taste and some lists we want to get to of the top cigars of the year. This is Smoking and Toasting, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
I love those things.
Yeah, that's kind of why we're here. Welcome back, my friends. We have our big end of the year show. Happy holidays to all of you. And Ian's about to pour some holiday libations. This would be the Kolache, right? It's the
Kolache from
American Solera Brewing. So these guys
that's
are
out
in
of Tulsa,
yeah.
Oklahoma. Yes.
Yeah. Which, by the way, speaking of Tulsa. I'm like my absolute joy right now on television is Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. It is awesome.
You talked about that
It's
briefly.
awesome. Yeah.
Last week or week before last?
Yep. It's so good, and Stallone is so good in it. And I have never been a big fan of Stallone. I mean, everybody loved the Rocky movie, but notice how I said the Rocky movie, singular?
Yes.
Yeah. But,
Because after the first one, it got awkward.
Yes. Rocky, it gets awkward. And I saw an interview with Stallone recently because I've become interested in him since this show. I've been enjoying so much. And he was like, yeah, we've done a few too many of the Rambo movies. I was like, you think? But in any case.
Did you see that? What was the name of it he just put out not too long ago where he's the quote-unquote superhero?
I'm not sure what that is. I do know, because it mentioned it in this interview, that he has had a number one movie in like 4 different decades, which is pretty strong stuff.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah,
pretty strong stuff. But anyway, Tulsa King is great. I would visit Tulsa now that I've never spent much time there. I spent a little time in Oklahoma City, and that was enough for me. But I would visit Tulsa now just to go to this brewery because they make Kolache.
Samaritan is the one I'm talking
Samaritan.
about.
I have heard about this. Yes.
That's not what you would expect.
No, I will have to check it out.
It's pretty good.
I'm gonna have a good movie viewing day across the holidays where all I do is watch movies all day. I love to do that. Maybe Christmas Day or New Year's Day. Pick one day. It's movie day. I'm gonna watch one movie after another. So all right. So let's try the Kolache. Have you tried it yet?
I did try it.
It smells like a Czech-style Pilsner on the nose.
It is Czech-style Pilsner. It's bitter and crisp.
Kind of Kolache-like. No, but does this remind you of a Kolache?
The Kolache is the pastry with the fruit in it, basically. I don't get a lot of fruit in this, but it is a nice little. I like that it's
definitely bready, kind of pretzel-y.
Yeah, and it's made. It seems like it's made to be very sessionable, like little snacky kind of beer.
It's definitely got a little bitter on the finish.
It says Czech-style snack. Let's see here. They don't give you a whole lot of information on this particular
I didn't see
can.
much on that can either. It does definitely get a little more bitter on the finish than most Czech-style Pilsners that I've had. Would you agree with that?
I got to be honest. The longer I let it linger on my palate, the less I like it.
I agree. I like it more at first sip than I do as it stays. Something about that bitter. That bitter isn't setting that well.
At least not a very pleasant bitter.
It
takes a minute for it to.
But
But it's also a weird pine coney kind of.
Now, see, I had
bitter.
What was it the other night? I had an ESB. I'm trying to remember what brewery now it was from. It was on tap at the bar that my wife and I were at, and it was so good. It reminded me, why don't I drink ESBs more? This is good.
There's not a lot of breweries that make ESBs.
You're right about
I'm
that.
I'm so happy that Eureka Heights here in Houston makes one called Wicked Awesome, which is.
This wasn't Wicked Awesome. I've had that though. It is very good.
It's quite good. There's
very good. So
there's only a few out that I even know of, but I do love that style.
John, do you like this? Kind of, sort of.
Initial.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
So we're all saying initially we like it more than what the
aftertaste
finish
is not very pleasant.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that happens every once in a while.
So drink it fast.
Yeah.
And then eat a Kolache immediately. So
it might be perfect with a Kolache.
Actually, there's legitimacy to that because sometimes that bitter aftertaste can balance something sweet that you're eating. Maybe that's what they were going for.
Yeah, perhaps so. All right, let's get into cigars here. The biggest list, and we have a number of lists we'll get to today, and some of them are very interesting.
We have a whole list of lists?
We have a list of lists,
nice.
Yes. Some of these lists are very interesting for different reasons, but we'll want to start with the big one. It's the one everybody kind of waits for, and that is the Cigar Aficionado Top 25 Cigars of the Year. And our good friend Alan Denny he told us the story working for EP Carrillo when their cigar was the number one that particular year, and how it changed everything. How suddenly they couldn't keep it in stock, and everybody was excited about it, clamoring for it. Yeah, and it was a big deal. So this can actually change the course of a cigar company's whole future, just landing on the list, much less being number one. So it's something that's anticipated in the industry quite a bit every year. I'm going to tell you this. I've never said this before. I always figure the lists are like, this is just someone's opinion after all. It might be the opinion of a group of people, and they might be really knowledgeable about cigars. But I've never looked at the list before and said, I have a problem with this.
Really?
And I do this year.
Uh-oh.
So we'll get to it. I don't have a problem with all of it, but I have a problem with some of it. And I'll tell you why once we get there. At number 25 on the list this year is the Plasencia Reserva Original Corona. This is the one with the gold and white band on it. It's a very good cigar. I've had that before. I think you reviewed that, haven't you? Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was the Corona size, but you reviewed that on the air, I'm pretty sure.
The Plasencia does like no wrong in my eyes.
Now, recently, the people at La Gloria Cubana kind of retooled their lines. The original La Gloria Cubana that used to just be La Gloria Cubana, that became the La Gloria Cubana Classic.
Yeah.
And then they had, of course,
the Series
R.
and
Yes,
Maduro.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the La Gloria Cubana Classic lands at number 24 on the list, which I like that because it's not necessarily, although it was kind of reissued with this new packaging, it's not necessarily a brand new cigar.
Right.
This is something that's been out there and been consistent and been good for a very long time, and I think it's cool to see it get identified.
Some recognition, yeah.
Number 24. At 23, I have not had this particular cigar, but I want to. It's the Espinosa Knuckle Sandwich Habano. The Corona Gorda R. Yeah. It's got an interesting looking band. It's black and gold and red. And in the center is a skeleton head skull with a chef's cap on. I don't know what that is, but I like it. This interests me just from a purely, interesting visual thing. The Tatuaje Capa Especial Cojete is number 22. This is the Tatuaje made by my father. It's 50 ring gauge, 4 inches long. So this is almost like almost like a nub, but not quite as fat, right? And they did this as an experiment and released 3 short Robustos, gave them 3 different wrappers. Cigar Aficionado says all were memorable smokes, but the blend that really took off for them was the Capa Especial, which uses a Sumatra seed tobacco grown in Ecuador as the wrapper. And they said it was the tastiest tatuaje. Try saying that.
Tastiest tatuaje.
Yeah, that's not easy to say. It was the tastiest tatuaje they had this year, they said.
Nice.
So comes in at number 22. At number 21, Alegria Robusto. Now, I don't even know the name of this cigar company. I'm going to see if it's in the notes here.
Alegria?
Yeah, it's Aganorsa Salif.
Okay.
It's Aganorsa Salif. But the thing that I instantly recognize is that the band is like truly big letters, but it's got the sort of orange-red band with the peace sign on it. So now you know the line of cigars I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
That had the peace sign. Made by Aganorsa Salif. It says in the write-up that it has the most curious backstory on the list. It first came about in 2004 as a spinoff from the One-Off brand. That was the brand that always had the peace sign, right? Which at the time was owned by a retailer in Italy. It was dormant. It went through another owner, and then the One-Off and Alegria trademarks ended up in the hands of Ilusione cigars. Ilusione, I think is the way I'm supposed to say that. They're now produced in Nicaragua with Aganorsa tobacco, and unlike the original one, which was a milder One-Off cigar, these are stronger but quite complex, they say, with a very interesting medium full assault on the palate. So I'm going to have to try one of those. I'm now very interested in trying one.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Sounds like my kind of cigar. So we'll do a couple more of these and then we'll take a break. Number 20 on the list is the Casa Magna Colorado Robusto. Now I'm excited about this because this is a less expensive cigar. It comes in at about $8 to $9, and a lot of times when you get to these cigars on this list, they're the $12 plus cigars.
They're super premiums.
Often for good reason. This is a full Nicaraguan Puro. It was named Cigar of the Year in 2008, and they say it remains a fantastic smoke today. Back then, it retailed for $5.25. Wow. Now it's $8.90. But they say, considering inflation, that actually remains a bit of a bargain, and I will I will agree. Made by Quesada Cigars. They brought production of Casa Magna in-house, moving it from Nicaragua to the Dominican Republic, but the tobaccos are still Nicaraguan, still a Nicaraguan Puro. So, all right, let's do, where are we up to now? 20? Let's do number 19, because it's a cigar I smoked several of this year and really, really liked. The San Cristobal Classico. Now, there's a number of different iterations of San Cristobal, and this has one of the most beautiful bands of any cigar that's out there. They have one of the most
ornate bands.
It's really wonderful. It's the parrot or macaw or a colorful bird of that stripe, and a couple of gold doubloons, and it's just really well done, very classy. Excuse me for a moment there. So here's what they say about this one. It's, of course, this brand is owned by Ashton, and San Cristobal was their entry into Nicaraguan tobacco. And really, until then, most Ashton cigars were made in the Dominican Republic by the Fuente family. But in 2007, when they debuted this line, Robert Levin, the owner of Ashton Distributors, turned to a family to produce his first Nicaraguan brand, and I would say he didn't do too bad because he went to the Garcia family.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and that's my father, folks, and they know what's going on. So there are 5 different San Cristobal blends in total. Cigar Aficionado says they returned to the original brand this year, and it's every bit as rich and full-bodied as when it debuted, teeming with earth, very dark chocolate, spice, and a bit of cinnamon. So that gets us up to number 19. And we'll take a little break.
More to come.
And have more to come. We still have drinking news. We still have the top 18 of this list, as well as Ian and I made our own list of cigars we enjoyed the most this year, and a few other interesting lists to come. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And now we're getting into the beers that I think Ian's going to be excited about, because this is like upwards of 10%. It's an Imperial Cookie Ale, if there is such a thing. And so while he pours, we tell you about the next cigar on the Cigar Aficionado list at number 18. A cigar that was resurrected in 2009, the brand resurrected in 2009, as a budget-friendly premium cigar. The Brick House Churchill comes
Brick House is great.
At number 18. In 1937 was when the brand debuted by J.C. Newman, when the company was operating out of Cleveland, Ohio. They're now in Tampa, and they keep the spirit of the brand alive with this reincarnation version, which debuted in 2009 as a budget-friendly premium cigar. They call this an overachiever in the under $10 category, mostly Nicaraguan tobacco and lots of apple, cedar, and baking spices on the palate for this one. So that one I do highly recommend. Brick House is absolutely awesome. At number 17 is a Cuban cigar. I'll come back to that later. It is the Cohiba 55 Aniversario Edición Limitada 2021. This was the one that got the world's attention, not just because it's a Cohiba and not just because it celebrates the brand's 55th anniversary. It turned heads because it was a $300 cigar, not a $300 box of cigars or a $300 5-pack of cigars. It was a $300 cigar. How are you going to get any price to quality on a 300? I mean, it needs to literally like pick you up and dance with you if it's going to be a $300 cigar to get even a 5 on the price to quality scale. Of course, Cigar Aficionado doesn't rate them that way.
Right.
So yeah, binder and wrapper and filler are all from Cuba. It is a 57 ring gauge cigar.
There's when you talk about the rating system, there's a thing. If you're blind rating something and you're literally just going with the quality of what you're trying, it's a lot easier when you throw a ton of money at stuff.
They do say it's the tastiest Cohiba they smoked all year.
You know, Cohibas, I think, in general, are pretty good cigars. Even the
As long as you get real ones. They've done Cuban Cohibas.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. And even the non-Cuban Cohibas
even the
are good.
non-Cuban ones are real good cigars, but they're overpriced.
Yes,
Like,
they are.
They're
Well,
really
and
overpriced.
Cigar Aficionado even admits in their write-up on this, the cigar scored well and would have appeared higher on the list had it not been for its restrictive price and limited availability.
Yeah.
So that's why they kept it down at 17 on the list. But anyway, I thought that was quite interesting. So this is, man, it smells
Put
like
that
a sugar
cookie down.
Yeah.
This tastes like liquefied cookie dough.
All right, so tell me again what it has in it.
Imperial sugar cookie ale with lactose and vanilla. It basically tastes like a snickerdoodle
It really does.
exploded in your beer.
It really does, but almost more like you said this, if you were eating the dough with a spoon
Yep.
than the actual baked cookie.
It's like if you had a cookie dough ice cream that just melted into beer.
This is it's an amazing flavor. I don't think I could drink a lot of it because of how sweet it is. But it's good.
I love sticky sweet beers.
Yeah.
This might be too sweet for me. This is so crazy over the top sweet. But I love that Martin House does that. Like, they are fearless.
They
when it
are
comes to their
fearless, aren't
beers.
they?
I love this saber tooth on the front of
Yeah,
this.
what is that? A
Looking
saber-toothed
kind of
dog?
chill and
Yeah.
relaxed.
Like, hey, put that cookie down. It is, it's sweet in the way that, and I haven't had one of these in years, because if you have one, you've reached your calorie consumption level for a year. But it kind of reminds me of eating a Cinnabon.
Yeah.
It's so sweet. It's good, but it's so sweet.
Yeah,
You're
this
just like,
is-
it's like your body goes into sugar shock or something, you know? Man.
This is sweet on a level that, but like I said, I like sticky sweet beers, and this is almost too sweet for me. This is crazy.
And it's 10 point something.
10%.
10%. Wow. Well, you gotta love Martin House for being adventurous. You don't see a lot of breweries doing Imperial cookie ale.
And I love that they just hey, we're just going to add sugar to it. This is not probably on the South Beach diet.
No, this is definitely not keto friendly. That's for sure. But it is pretty. I don't know. I'm really glad I tried it. I don't think I'm going to go buy anymore, but I'm really glad I tried it.
Yeah, I'm not going to down whole cans of this.
Yeah,
but tasting it back and forth is really nice. This might go real good with something like a dessert, that you're eating, but it's pretty sticky sweet on its own.
it really is. But if you had a dessert, wouldn't it almost make it sweeter?
Maybe if you had something with a bitter finish to it. I don't know. Maybe
I don't know.
as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, if you were drinking this and had a dessert, you probably wouldn't even taste the dessert.
Probably not. Well, I was thinking maybe something like a pumpkin pie, or something that has a sort of a non-sweet taste to it, but has like spice taste to it. Maybe it would go with that. Kind of like when you put whipped cream on something. This would be your whipped cream.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. Interesting. Buy one, but don't buy the 4-pack.
Yeah, it's brutal. Brutal, dude.
But I'm really glad we tried it, though.
I am too.
I
I don't not like it, but man, is it something. It is big.
Number 16 on the list from Cigar Aficionado, also a Cuban cigar, the Romeo and Julieta Línea de Oro Nobles. Like the Cuban Monte Cristo Línea 1935 or the Cohiba Bejique before that, this cigar is meant to be a super premium Grand Cru version of an already premium brand. In this case, the tobaccos are stronger than those found in the core Romeo and Julieta line. And remember, this is all Cuban filler, binder, and wrapper. So these sizes are new, and they say it intensifies as you smoke it to a strong oaky and leathery finish. It's a 5 3/8 by 56 cigar. So I'm gonna tell you now why I have a problem with this list.
What's up?
There's too many Cuban cigars on it. I can't go and buy these
No.
unless I book a flight to Cuba. Okay, or unless I have somebody bring them back to me, or I find a shady website that will sell them, and I'll wonder the whole time, am I getting real ones or counterfeit ones?
Right.
But I have an issue with this. Like this is like it's like going on Chris Hart's show and you taste the greatest bourbon you've ever had, only to find out that this is one of only 3 bottles that exist, and
Right,
Chris
yeah.
got it somewhere, and nobody can go and buy this. It's kind of like, what's the point? Like. I guess I don't have a problem with there being a Cuban cigar on this list, but the prominence of the Cuban cigars on this list bother me a little bit because it's not something that's going to be attainable. I don't have the money to go to Cuba this year.
Yeah.
You know? And if I did, I'd probably go somewhere
there's
besides
something
Cuba.
to be said about, just having cigars that you can go into the shop and buy.
Right. I'm not,
You
I'm not rich enough to be a world traveler who can, just pick these up wherever I
But
go.
this list, I think one thing in their defense, this is not just for the United States, and there are places outside the United States that
That's
can get
true,
those
but
Cubans.
the United States is the vast majority of their subscribers. So that's why I think it's a little overrepresented, and you'll see what I mean as the list goes on. At number 15, the La Palina Goldie Laguito, number 2. It is a 38 ring gauge, 6 inches long, and it's $23.
What?
Yeah, it's a
Holy cow.
very expensive,
Very skinny.
Panatella type cigar, but this is something they say is really, really good. It's made in a small factory in Miami's Little Havana section that they say is responsible for some fantastic cigars. The factory is called El Titan de Bronze, and the operation makes its own brands, but they say it shines the brightest when producing third-party cigars, and that's what this is. They made this one for La Palina. An elegant Panatella, they say, with the distinctive flagtail cap. Limited production and U.S. labor is one of the reasons why you're paying more for this cigar. But still, $23 for
That's expensive.
for a Lancero.
Panatella.
It's going to have to be awfully good. They say that it is, and it comes in at number 15 on this year's list. So, all right, let's do one more, and then we'll take a break. Come back and do a little whiskey tasting.
I like the whiskey.
Okay. At number 14, it was the new A.J. Fernandez cigar for this year, the New World Dorado. I smoked one of these and reviewed it a couple of weeks ago on the show. It's an $11 cigar, and it's a 5.5 by 52. They gave it a 93 rating, and they point out, as I think I did when I talked about it, that it's almost an estate cigar. Almost all of the tobacco comes from the same farm, but not quite. Not 100%, but just about. It's from a small plot of land called the Dorado Farm in Esteli, Nicaragua. Both the farm and the cigar are owned by A.J. Fernandez, and it's an all Nicaraguan blend, and the plantation's only 5 years old, and this tobacco came from their very first harvest. So this is a very, very good cigar. Little different from the other New Worlds, I think. Although it's a medium full, it's not quite as powerful as just the standard New World line by AJ, but it is very rich. They mentioned caramel, orange peel, nuts, and espresso. I'll have to go back and take a look.
Still complex, yeah.
But yeah, very complex, very enjoyable, and it's in on our list at number 14. So we'll get to more of the top 13 as we go here. It is there's a lot I agree with on this list, but I'm having a problem with the Cuban stuff, and I'll get to more of that.
Too much of the Cuban
I'll
cigars.
get to more of that coming up. It wouldn't be bad to have too much of the Cuban cigars if we could get them. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. We'll be right back. It's Smoking a Toast. Sounded good, by the way. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. We are the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're talking hand-rolled cigars from our big list from Cigar Aficionado for this year, and we're about to talk fine spirits here in a moment because Ian's pouring the little book, and I have reason to believe we will be happy with the little book. But let's see where we go.
I'm super glad that once again you made sure to clear the top of the bottle.
Well, I'm a safety-oriented person, and the last bottle I brought in, I did not do that, and I was really concerned for you, for your, your well-being and safety.
This is chapter 6 to the finish. 4-year straight malt whiskey finished with cherry wood staves. 4-year straight malt whiskey finished in applewood smoked barrels. 4-year straight malt whiskey finished in hickory smoked barrels. 4-year straight malt whiskey finished in maplewood staves, and 5-year Kentucky straight bourbon.
I'm waiting for you to nose this.
Oh man, and there's the maple.
Maple. I can pick up on the applewood
oak.
too, and the
I
oak.
get a little of the apple.
There's some minerality.
There's a little sweetness going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know the oh wow, it just keeps going.
Finishes as a cinnamon bomb.
Cinnamon, big time. An apple,
Yes.
apple and cinnamon. Kind of like the instant oatmeal apples and cinnamon. No, I mean that in the best way. I'm a little surprised at how much heat there is actually on this.
Yeah,
There's
a
actually
lot on the finish.
Quite a bit of heat on the finish on this.
The
Like,
whiskey
you know
hug-
you're drinking whiskey, buddy.
The whiskey hug comes back to you right away. It is not a delayed whiskey hug.
Yeah, there's no doubt you're drinking a whiskey. Oh, you know what though? The second drink is a chocolate bomb with
Yes.
cinnamon.
I was just about to say.
You start sipping it and you start parsing out things on it. That makes it really interesting.
In between this segment and the next, I'm going to go. Oh, you know what? You've got a bottle of water there.
I do.
Would you put just a little tiny bit in mine? I would really like to see how this opens up because it's definitely full and strong enough that it would withstand the
dense.
water. Yeah.
And in a nice way, the oak finish, the tail end of this, the oak finish is very, very strong with cinnamon as
Okay,
well. As the 8th generation beam distiller, Freddie No pays homage to his granddaddy Booker by naming his first spirit Little Book. That's the name Booker gave him, and now it's now this spirit, just the kind of whiskey Booker would have loved, is what Freddie's giving back.
Love it. So have you tried it with the drop of water?
Not yet.
I think you're going to like it even more.
It nose is different.
Mm-hmm. It sure does.
Big time. It's brighter on the nose than it was a minute ago.
And on the palate, it backs the strength off just enough for you to pick up more apple. The cinnamon is still there, but it's not quite as buzzy.
Oh, now it becomes an oak bomb.
Yes, very much an oak bomb.
Wow. It's hard to go wrong with Little Book.
This one is complex, though, isn't it?
It is complex. It's also a very big flavor whiskey. What's the 58.7%.
Yeah, so it's like 90 proof.
Pretty high overproof. No, that's a 116 proof.
Oh, you can definitely tell it's
17 proof.
Definitely tell it's strong.
Yeah, it's big overproof. This is one of those bottles where when you taste the whiskey, you go, okay, that is really something a little special.
Right, and it's really whiskey too. It's not something where it's got all these flavors, but it doesn't taste like whiskey. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it has a nice kind of underlying kind of leathery kind of taste to it. It has a
It makes me want to say that in my library are many mahogany-bound books. No, many leather-bound books. And it smells of rich mahogany. That's what it's supposed to be, yeah. Sorry, I butchered that.
That movie's so oddly funny.
You knew where I was going
I know
with
exactly
it. Yeah,
where you're
yeah.
coming from with that.
It kind of seems like the whiskey you would drink while sitting in that room with many leather-bound books.
You know, it's funny because I can't stop taking little tiny sips of it.
Yeah,
Just 'cause I
I'm doing the
keep getting
exact same thing.
So many things.
I'm not
out
taking
of it.
big sips. I'm taking little bitty sips.
Yeah.
And then, just like trying to pick out what I'm getting. A little bit of orange zest in
I can
there.
go with that. Hey, what do they say on it? They say bright finish with a robust mouthfeel and welcoming sweetness. So they're not giving you a whole lot of details.
Yeah,
on
they
that.
really aren't,
Oh,
but-
let's see here. Color, deep amber with copper undertones. Aroma, charred oak intermingled with complex mix of savory and sweetness. Taste, rich toasted grain notes with hints of sweet wood smoke. It's not hints of sweet wood smoke, by the way. It is
It is full on sweet wood smoke.
It is oaky.
Oaky and applewood too.
Yeah.
If you've ever like grilled with applewood chips or applewood chunks, it really reminds me of that. How great would this be with just like some grilled chicken?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Or this is robust though. It could go with a steak. It could go with almost anything.
So what would you pair this with cigar wise if you were going to smoke a cigar while you sipped this?
Especially with just a touch of water in it. Mm-hmm. This has got such a nice sweetness up front. I'd almost want a cigar that has a little more dryness to it. So something with a little drier finish, a little oakier finish. So if I were to go to my list of favorites.
Well, I don't know. For some reason, what's popping into my head here is Liga Privada.
Liga Privada is a good choice. The Oliva. The 135.
The 135,
that's right there on my list.
Oh man, that would be good with this.
The Hemingway series, any of those have such a nice big flavor up front that I think would work right around this and not compete with it at all.
Agreed.
I think you'd have a hard time going wrong with almost any medium Monte Cristo.
Right.
Or there's a few out. You mentioned the Liga Privada, but what about the EPC that
The Pledge?
The Pledge, yes, that's the one I was thinking of. That would go fantastic.
Yeah,
with
it
this.
sure would. That's a beautifully wonderful cigar. In fact, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about it in just a minute.
The Cedrus from Southern Draw, I think, would also be a nice pair because the woodiness, I think, would really
Another
pair
AJ
up.
product. Yeah. Very nice. Let's jump back into this list while we savor this whiskey for a minute.
List me up, man.
Number 13. I reviewed this cigar just a couple of weeks ago and raved about it. The Joya de Nicaragua Antonio,
yes.
1970
I want to pick
Churchill.
one of those up today.
In at number 13. It's easy to forget the classics, they say, and they call back to this one. It's a classic cigar in every sense. It comes from the oldest producer of handmade cigars in Nicaragua. It's in a more traditional size, and while the blend is what brand owner Alejandro Martinez Cuencia regards as a quintessential Nicaraguan cigar, and by that he means that the tobacco represents the country's most important growing regions in a cohesive way, giving us a sense of place and origin. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and this cigar comes in at a little under $10.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal considering some of the competition, including the $300 Cuban Cohiba.
Yeah, but
it's got
that
here.
price tag alone has to put it lower on the list. I mean,
Well, that's what they said, is that it would have been higher had it not been for the huge price tag. At number 12 on the list, rated a 93 when they rated it in Cigar Aficionado, the La Flor Dominicana Oro Chisel. So this is the one that comes with a gold tubo, and it is a subtle nod to brand owner Lito Gomez's days as a jeweler before entering the cigar business. Now, of course, his precious material is tobacco.
Tobacco, yeah.
Most of which he grows himself on the La Canela farm in the Dominican Republic. So it's composed mainly of his leaf, save for the Nicaraguan wrapper, which is similar to what's found on his Coronado line. The wedge-shaped head on this, because the chisel is like a torpedo, but it comes out into a flat wedge-shaped head, and it concentrates the smoke, making it even stronger, as if this cigar needed to be even stronger. What's interesting, though, is it's all Dominican tobacco except for the wrapper, which is Nicaraguan. Like, you would think that it would be a little milder, but it is not, and it's a 15...
Yeah, because Dominican cigars aren't known for being like super powerhouses.
Right.
They're usually in the
Generally,
medium.
they're medium,
Right.
even mild cigars with Dominican tobacco. But in this case, this $15 to $16 cigar is a monster, not recommended for novice cigar smokers at all. At number 11, the EP Carrillo Pledge Apogee. This is the 6 1/4 by 58 ring gauge. It is a $15 cigar, and they won Cigar of the Year with the Pledge prequel in 2020. And that was E.P. Carrillo's second number one cigar in 2 years. So where to go from there? The obvious answer to Ernesto P. Carrillo was bigger. He took the blend and beefed it up to a 58 ring gauge, and this comes in at number 11 on this year's list.
You know, I'll try that one at some point.
Mm-hmm. He stopped short of making a 60 ring gauge cigar. Ernesto feels, according to this, that after 58, the blend of the cigar is compromised. It's interesting because I've never heard anyone say it quite that way.
I think that would be very blend dependent too.
Probably. But that is a great cigar. We've had it this year. It comes in at number 11.
You got to be honest. The ratio matters, okay? So let's take, for instance, your snack food. An Oreo double stuff,
Right.
that's pretty good.
Yep.
A whatchamacallit bar is pretty good in a regular size, but the king size has a better ratio. I think we both know that.
Okay, so, yeah.
But a payday is the opposite.
Right.
Like you have to have the smaller payday because that's the right ratio.
Exactly. Oh, I'm so with you here. And I'll give you another example. Reese's peanut butter cups are fine. But in the holiday season, when they make the Christmas trees
or
the Easter eggs, those rock.
Are the bomb,
and it's because of the difference in the ratio between the peanut butter and the chocolate. In the cup, it's almost exactly the same.
Yep.
And in those, you get more peanut butter. And I would think I would like the chocolate more than I would like the peanut butter. But it turns out that ratio is just perfect.
Yeah, it's what it is.
It's wonderful, yeah. So I can, I try not to eat a lot of candy. I can pass on a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, you offer me one of those Christmas trees, I'm like, okay. At number 10 on our list from Cigar Aficionado, and I have not had an opportunity to have one of these, but I would love to, despite the fact that they are $17 to $18 cigars. The Arturo Fuente Rare Pink, vintage 1960 series. This one's called the Sophisticated Hooker.
Now, we talked about this cigar a couple times.
Yeah, we did,
right?
because it was something that's been in the works for a long time, was finally released, and extremely limited. Yeah. They write in their article in Cigar Aficionado that if you're familiar with Carlos Fuente Jr.'s sense of humor, it won't surprise you that there's a double entendre here.
Right.
Sophisticated Hooker refers to the name of a fishing boat, with hooker being a term for a fisherman. And the Arturo Fuente owner and blender remembers this from his younger days. It's the largest size in the Rare Pink line, and the blend is totally different from the Hemingways. It's also a cigar with a social cause, because a portion of the proceeds from the sale of every box goes to fund breast cancer research.
Oh, nice.
Hence the bright pink boxes. Pink being the official
Right.
color of breast cancer awareness. So they say that it is cedary and herbal, but takes on a nutty graham cracker sweetness, showing big notes of red meat, black pepper, and caramel before the sweet and nutty finish. That sounds like my kind of cigar.
That sounds good to me, yes.
Ecuadorian wrapper, Dominican and Nicaraguan filler and binder. So
I have no problems with a
That's number
cigar
10.
that spans 3 countries.
I really want to try this cigar. I have to, especially after today talking about the Viejo, the Extra Viejo, which was so good, and it just reminded me I don't smoke enough Fuente cigars because they're so good.
Yeah, so we fall under that category of sometimes it's too ubiquitous. Like
Right,
it's
what
always
you're
there,
familiar
so
with.
we kind of
right.
over-familiarize, so.
But it's definitely worthwhile. We're inside the top 10 now to number 9, and I'm proud to say it is an $8 to $9 cigar. I'm even prouder to say that it is made at Tabacalera A.J. Fernandez Cigars in Nicaragua. It is the Romeo and Julieta Reserva Real, Nicaragua Churchill. This is the one with the blue band. So it's the Romeo and Julieta with the blue band.
This
baby
cigar,
is good.
This is a cigar that I always, the Reserva Real is always what I recommend to people if they're not sure what they like.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't know if they like mild, medium, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is just such a fantastic cigar.
This was a fairly mild Dominican cigar. Mm-hmm. And in Altadas USA's retooling of their entire cigar line and trying to modernize the blends, this one became a medium to full, and it is made by A.J. Fernandez. And Romeo and Julieta is Altadas USA's best-selling premium cigar brand. So Romeos are something about that brand. They've still got the cachet that they've had for a long time.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the biggest names. If you ask people about cigars that don't know much about it, they're going to name Romeo y Julieta, maybe Fuente,
And I have to say,
maybe Padron.
I'm an admitted fanboy of AJ, but this is another example where he took a blend that was pretty good and made it outstanding.
Yeah.
And to me, that's why he is like one of the hottest guys in the cigar biz today. I think what he has done, his own cigars are great and often more affordable than the ones he does for other brands.
Yeah, but that Hoyo Black,
Hoyo Black.
I mean,
dude.
come on. That thing is unbelievable.
And I get the Hoyo Silvers a lot because they're an extremely inexpensive AJ cigar. You can, depending on sales and prices and whatever, you can usually pick them up for $5 to $6.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me? That's crazy. It's crazy good.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Coming in the number 8 cigar of 2022, the Padron 1964 Anniversary Series Principe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we both know this is a great cigar. And I have to say, though, my one critique of Padron, and maybe this is because their super premium cigars are so good, but they've made me completely uninterested in their regular line.
Oh, 100%.
And I used to really like their regular line. And I don't know whether they spoiled me, and changed my taste, or whether they're just not as good as they used to be.
Quite a few years back, I was going around trying to find, and this was back when you could find under $5 cigars. Mm-hmm. So it's quite like 10 years back or more. I was kind of on my, let's find an under $5 cigar that's really good, and I picked up a bunch of the Padrones.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't impressed with them.
Yeah.
I'll take a Nica
They're not
Libre.
bad, but yes, absolutely.
I'll take even to be honest with you, even the factory smokes, I enjoy more than those.
agree.
What is it, the 3000 series? Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
The Padron 3000 series.
Yeah, they're not that interesting to me.
But as far as their ultra premiums,
they're unbelievable.
guys hit them out of the park. In fact, not only is Padron a 4-time winner of Cigar of the Year on the number 1 spot on the list from Cigar Aficionado, but they've been in the top 10 every year since the list has existed.
Holy cow.
Think about that.
That's crazy.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And they come in this year as well at number 8. It's pretty interesting. And I didn't really realize this until I read this in the article. Contrary to typical industry practice, Padron does not put their cigars in an aging room after they roll them. According to the company, the tobacco's already been adequately aged and it's ready to smoke as soon as the cigar is constructed. Huh. So if you remember when we were down in Ecuador, at Aladino, they showed the curing rooms, the aging rooms, and the rolling rooms, and then the cigars went to continue to be aged as fully rolled cigars. But that's interesting.
Well, I think a lot of cigars need to mature a little bit. And it's interesting that Padron does it like that.
Well, it's interesting, and it's probably more interesting because I would think that tobacco would need to marry. Like there's something about it aging with the other tobaccos in the blend.
Something like day old lasagna that just makes it a little better.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Dude, yes. Day old lasagna is wonderful. And sometimes day old pizza, if you crisp it up in the broiler, yeah. Yep. Oh man, there's something righteously good about that. At number 7 on the list, I agree with this one. I've had a couple of these this year, and they have been outstanding. The My Father Le Bijou, 1922.
That's a big cigar, though.
It really
flavor-wise.
Yeah, it's a 50 ring gauge, 7-inch cigar, and it is definitely a medium to full in terms of its strength and flavor. So this is $12 to $13 cigar, and in my opinion, worth every. And
that's one of the pricier My Father's.
Yes, it is. In fact, you can even pick up My Father's for $7 to $8. But this one is a little pricier, and I would tell you that it is absolutely 100% worth it. At number 6, I was kind of thrilled to see this. I was thrilled for Alec Bradley because their Black Market Churchill, bless you, came in at number 6.
I like the black market stuff.
I do too. I think it's very good. There is this is a Honduran cigar, and made by the Plasencias, and the only part of it that's not Honduran is the wrapper is from Nicaragua, the binder is Ecuadorian, and the filler is from Honduras and from Panama. But it is made in Honduras, and it's a really good cigar. I just think it's very tasty. There is I really recognized this for the first time when we were down at the Aladino family farms, and we were having such a good time smoking their cigars.
Yeah.
But there is a distinct flavor that Ecuadorian Honduran tobacco has that is distinctly different from Nicaraguan tobacco and Dominican tobacco. And it's one that I really like. I really like it as a change-up to Nicaraguan. Sometimes if you're just looking for a little different flavor profile, I really, really like it. This comes in at number 6, a $10 to $11 cigar, and I've had this one before and agree with its placement on the list. At number 5, I would have done this differently, but I can't argue with what they have. Number 5 is the Oliva Serie V Churchill Extra. I would have gone with the 135.
Yeah.
Just because it was so this year.
Yep.
It was so fantastic. And I realized that it's the same blend as this. But there was something about that shape.
Something about that shape.
Oh,
really
man, it
makes
just
special.
really made it special. Absolutely.
But that whole Serie V line, it's hard to go wrong with it. Like, I don't know that I have every time I buy a Serie V, I buy different shapes just for fun because
Absolutely.
I haven't found one that I don't like.
This is a $12 to $13 cigar, and yet Cigar Aficionado points out that it punches above its price range. And that's pretty impressive. Kind of like what we were talking about today. It's a great smoke, they say, but more than that, it's emblematic of how one great cigar family is able to carry on the high standards of another. So that's really cool. You'll want to read more about the heritage of Oliva cigars and where they come from. But at number 5, the Serie V, hard to beat. Hoya de Monterrey Elegantes come in at number 4, and this is another Cuban cigar on the list. I am glad to see that they've updated the bands on some of these Cuban cigars. Cuban cigars, except for the Cohibas, they always seem to have really boring bands to me, But they've updated this one. It's kind of interesting looking. This one is one they say that flies under the radar. It might be one of those smokes you missed when you were perusing cigar shops around the world because, as you know, you and I spend so much time perusing cigar shops around the world.
Yes.
Yeah, but anyway, they say this is very, very good. It is a round torpedo, and it's a little fatter in the middle, and then it slims down a little towards the foot. Priced at about 25 pounds, a medium strength, and it comes in at number 4, another Cuban cigar on the list. Number 3, and I'm going to get to the top of this list before we take a break.
All right.
Number 3 is a $22.60 cigar.
Plasencia?
Davidoff Nicaragua
Davidoff.
Diadema. Yep. It is a full Nicaraguan. It's medium to full, and it is something that's completely different from most Davidoffs that you'll ever smoke, because most Davidoffs are much milder.
more mild,
yeah. And they're good, but they're overpriced and they're much milder. This one is probably also overpriced at $23. I think it would be really difficult to give this more than a 5. Maybe you give it less than a 5, even if it's just absolutely wonderful.
Right.
But it's made in the Dominican Republic, but using all Nicaraguan tobacco, and they use some of that Ometepe
Right.
tobacco.
So
in it.
I'm pretty sure that I reviewed that cigar earlier this year, didn't I?
You must be richer than I am, because I haven't been able to buy you.
Because there were a couple Davidoffs that I reviewed this year. One of them was the Lennox. Le Noir. I can't remember what it was called.
This is the Nicaragua Diadema.
Okay, maybe I didn't do that one.
I don't think you did this one.
I'd have to try that and then try it against the Plasencia Almafuerte because same price.
Yeah.
I mean, I just gotta wonder.
Try it against 1926 Padron.
Because I'll tell you, man, like that Plasencia, those Padrones, they are worth every penny. They're
absolutely.
special occasion cigars. You're not going to smoke them daily unless you got a lot more money than I got.
I think both of us have reviewed the one that comes in at number 2, the Rocky Patel 6060.
Yes.
This is a fabulous cigar. When I say fabulous, I don't mean like it's just
You
good.
mean fabulous,
I mean,
like with one hand out like this.
That's
fabulous.
exactly right.
Yes.
Fabulous.
No, I know what you're saying.
No, it really is. It's a Nicaraguan binder and filler. The wrapper is a San Andres, Mexico. And, of course, Rocky is always celebrating birthdays or anniversaries. So when he turned 60, nobody was surprised that he thought a new cigar was in order.
And that 60 is pretty.
Yeah, it really does. It doesn't just represent his 6 decades on Earth, they say, but it also demonstrates how he's developed as a cigar maker and how his understanding of raw materials continues to evolve. It's a good cigar. It's an $18 cigar, and it's worth it.
Hey, Rocky Patel was a staple for me getting into cigars. Like his cigars,
100%.
so good.
And number 1, the cigar of the year. And I got a problem with this. The Cuban H. Upmann number 2. So the craziness that surrounds Cigar of the Year, what surrounded the EP Carrillo Pledge when it was the Cigar of the Year, the craziness that surrounded Padron when they were Cigar of the Year, the craziness that I feel like should be surrounding the Rocky Patel 6060. It doesn't exist for most people in America, which is where their largest audience is, because we can't go to our local tobacconist and buy the cigar and try it. It's 32.2 pounds in price. It's the H. Upmann number 2, and they say it's one of the best kept secrets in the cigar world. Now, I will admit, if I find myself in a Canadian, tobacco shop or in Mexico someplace, I might be able to go that has one of these. I probably will buy one and try it because this is quite a recommendation. But I'm frustrated with how many Cuban cigars are on this list.
Yeah,
I want to try the whole list, and I can't try 4 or 5 of them. Easily, at least, because it's going to be hard enough to find the cigars on this list.
Some shady
stop.
deals that might get you,
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm not too worried about getting in trouble. I am a little worried about getting a counterfeit H. Upmann number 2. If you're not familiar, it looks just like the Monte Cristo number 2, except that it is an H. Upmann, but it's that
Torpedo.
gentle torpedo,
Yeah.
Cigar Aficionado's Cigar of the Year. I thought it was absolutely anticlimactic. I was more excited about Rocky Patel at number 2. But maybe it's just me. I don't know. Do you think I'm being unreasonable?
Well, so I understand what you're saying about the whole Cuban thing, because it is harder to get Cuban cigars. And I'm, even with beers, with whiskeys, the allocated stuff, all that stuff, I'm just not the guy who's gonna sit and wait in line or scavenge places. I'm just not. I got other things to do with my time.
Yep, I totally understand this.
And it's the same way with cigars, man. I love those cigars, and I do dearly love when I have friends that are that far into it that they will go out of their way and find those things.
Yeah,
and then share them with me. That's amazing.
Which is even more wonderful. Yes.
But I just I don't have that in me to do that kind of.
I agree,
thing. And so I get it. Yeah, it's frustrating because you can't try number 1.
Right. Every year I've been able to go out and somewhere find the number 1 cigar and go, okay, let's see what made it number 1. Right? That's half the fun of this, Anyway, all right. So we'll take a break. Ian and I have made our own personal lists. We'll share those with you coming up, and we'll share one thing that might be more important than the list. And that's drinking news. It's coming up next.
On the list of drinking news.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Man, that little book is good. I just took another sip of that right at the beginning of the segment.
So
wow. That's absolutely tremendous.
And also, you came in flexing your big beer muscles today.
I sure did. Oh, for some reason, I had my phone because I usually grab my phone to do the, what do you call it? To play the little
drinking news song,
the piece for the drinking news song, and somehow I have touched the dictate button, so it's dictating my wife the entire show.
Oh, nice.
That'll be a hell of a text. So, all right, let's get rid of that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It's the holidays. It's our final episode of the show this year. It's the 308th episode of Smokin' and Toastin'. And next year's going to be a big one for this show. We are in the process of finally landing a syndication deal. So that is going to be very exciting. We'll be showing up on some radio stations around the country as a weekend show.
That sounds awesome.
And we'll have to stop dropping the F-bomb. We can't even have Chris Hart on anymore because we'll have to be, lingo friendly for the radio. So maybe we'll have to do
just every time he speaks, it's just going to go, boo.
It'll be like listening to a rap song.
That's right.
There's some rap songs that I hear on broadcast radio. I have no idea what they're talking about. I can't figure it out. I can't piece enough of the lyrics together to figure out what it's about. But anyway, it's Christmas. It's the holidays. Time for a Christmas edition, my friends, of Drinking News.
Oh, sorry.
I was kind of digging that. That was pretty awesome, actually.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Christmas. It's that wonderful, magical time of the year when people...
The most wonderful time of the year.
That's what I've heard, yes. It's the time when people laugh a little bit louder, live a little bit brighter, and love a little bit stronger. It's the time...
at the risk of sounding like a Bonnie Raitt song, okay.
It's the time when a young Macaulay Culkin gets all accidentally left at home by himself, only to torture a pair of dim-witted burglars and ultimately learn that his family really wasn't so bad after all. It's a time when Bill Murray is visited by three spirits overnight and then breaks into the broadcast of his own television network to share his new, reborn, positive outlook on life. It's a time when little Ralphie wishes for, and gets, a Red Ryder Carbine Action 200-shot range model air rifle, which he will eventually go on as an adult to use to rob a rundown liquor store for $78 and a pack of Marlboros. That's in the upcoming sequel. But that's not important right now.
I feel like you just gave it away.
The point is, it's time for happiness and joy and cheer. It's the holidays. But it's also the time when, predictably, Florida man just can't get out of his own way. And it's a time when a man from Arizona, which these days seems somewhat determined to give Florida a run for their money.
Wait a second, I got a brother in Arizona.
Yeah, well, I hope he's not this Arizona man, because this Arizona man missed the spirit of the holiday season entirely as he tried to skirt the law. These are the stories of today's special Christmas edition of Drinking News. An Arizona man thought that he could pull one over on authorities while out driving to do some Christmas shopping last week. Depending on where you are, the Arizona highways can get very busy and traffic very bad during the holiday rush. So the unidentified man opted to use the HOV lane. And for those of you who don't know, that's high occupancy vehicle. These are the lanes that are only allowed to be used by people who have at least two individuals in the car and allow you to bypass the slower moving traffic. So our Arizona man found himself in a quandary. He was actually driving alone, but he needed to be able to get past the camera checkpoints by making it appear that there were two people in the vehicle. An Arizona highway patrolman saw him drive past on the HOV lane and was able to realize that while the man's solution to his holiday problem was unique, it wasn't exactly legal. The perp was behind the wheel, and in the passenger seat next to him was what the cop referred to as a suspicious-looking passenger. It was just enough to fool the cameras, perhaps, but not enough to get past the wily highway patrolman.
Did he have a dummy in the...
The DPS officer pulled him over and was able to confirm that in the passenger seat behind him, the man had placed a human-sized, completely green, inflatable Grinch.
Nice.
I have to show you this photo.
No
Now-
one will ever
now,
notice.
Adam will put this up, obviously, on the show, but I'm going to show it to Ian right now. And I don't know why it has done this, but there we go. There is the photo of the man with the inflatable Grinch.
No, that looks legit. Like
That's
that
classic.
could be his friend.
That's classic, yeah. Absolutely classic. While we appreciate the festive flair, the department reported, this is illegal and the driver received a citation for the HOV violation. It was not immediately clear whether the Grinch was the garden variety lawn type inflatable or one that had been designed with, let's just say, more intimate uses in mind. The driver so far has made
Did they
no
actually
comment.
make a Grinch?
Are you asking me? I don't
come
know. I don't know if they make an inflatable sex Grinch. But that would be something to see, wouldn't it? I'm just saying. Meanwhile, further east, a Florida man is facing Further east, a Florida man
The best.
is facing charges stemming from a holiday spat with his wife in Lake County. 52-year-old Richard Atchison, you can see his picture here, was arrested by police after the couple's holiday evening took a dark turn. They'd spent some time preparing for Christmas, trimming their tree in a festive array of lights and ornaments, and then his wife upset him by asking for his help in making dinner. What happened next is not completely clear, but according to the report, an argument ensued, and during this, the wife placed a spoon in the sink, which apparently accidentally splashed some water on Atchison. The report says the man became enraged because water, and he began packing his things and carried them outside to his vehicle. He then returned home because, and I'm quoting the report here, and I'm sure you're surprised, he had been drinking.
Oh, well.
Because, of course, he had. And he told his wife that she had to leave instead.
Oh.
I packed all my
He
stuff.
gave him time to think about it.
Now I'm thinking about now you have to leave. But then when she tried to leave, deputies said that Atchison shoved her, and then he went across the room to the Christmas tree they had so lovingly decorated together, picked it up, and threw it at her, striking her and knocking her down. Authorities said he then blocked the front door to prevent her from leaving.
This man is sending me mixed messages.
Police arrived to arrest Atchison and took him away. Apparently, he has been charged with assault with a decorative holiday tree, only in Florida. So this Christmas and Hanukkah season, those of us here at Drinking News implore you to take a moment and consider the spirit of the holidays. This is a time where decorated trees should be used to inspire peace and joy, not used as a javelin or like one of those spears that the Na'vi use in Avatar. It's a time when you whatever you do with your inflatable Grinch or Frosty or Santa in the privacy of your own bedroom is your business. But it's not okay to pretend that they're an extra passenger in your car just to get away with driving in the HOV. It's a time instead when we should share joy and inspiration. It's like this from my favorite line in the greatest holiday movie ever made that I will share with you in the spirit of the season. Here at Drinking News, we're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby danced with Danny fucking Kaye. Great line. Live from just outside Santa's workshop, where I think my testicles are now completely frozen. My name is Cruz, and that is your holiday.
Drinking news, drinking all the... Oh, sorry.
I liked that, actually. That was good. That was good.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. And happy holidays. So it was tough finding holiday drinking news stories. There's a lot of holiday stories of people drinking and doing stupid things.
I like the creativity you bring into it, though. You bring in, you're like, you know what? We're going to pull in some stories from here, some stories from there. This is all ridiculous, people.
Mm-hmm.
People do,
And hey,
people do weird things.
Anytime you get to quote National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, it's a good show, right? It's a good show. All right, let's do a little listing here. We are up now. We've gone through the Cigar Aficionado list, so I think the only thing left to do, besides taste this beer, is
late
to talk about our list. So you've already done some research during
I
Drinking
just
News?
refilled mine.
Oh my goodness! So this must mean that this one's meeting with your approval.
This one is fantastic.
So this is from Ingenious. So I will just say this.
Today's been a weird day. Our first beer started off okay and then had just kind of bad bitter end.
Mm-hmm.
The second beer was just a little too sticky. I mean, I love what they're doing, but a little too sticky. It's a little too much of it. This, buddy, Imperial. It's just got this what looks like a Reese's peanut butter cup with a crown,
with a cloak and a crown on,
and
right?
a purple king's robe. Peanut butter cup Imperial milk stout, and boy, is it good! Ale with chocolate, cacao, and peanut butter.
That's one of the best chocolate stouts I've ever had. If it counts
There's
as
more to being a
stout.
king than getting your way all the time, but this time it's okay to enjoy all the peanut butter, chocolate, and cacao nibs you can handle with this rich Imperial milk stout, coming in at 10.1%.
We've had peanut butter and chocolate stouts before on this show. This is better.
This is real good. This
is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm just loving this.
Let's go straight to the top of the list right here. Like, it's so good. Mm-hmm. It's hard to go wrong with that. Mm-mm-mm. And if you want a little kick of cinnamon in it, take a sip of your little book. Oh, they go pretty well together.
Oh, they go real. Now I'm getting like all kinds of chocolate in the little book.
Yeah.
Wow. And then back to the Imperial. So Ingenious, I got to say this about them. I think of them as a more IPA-centric company. They do many IPAs.
They do those milkshake IPAs or those like fruit shake IPAs and stuff like that are so interesting.
They really are, and
but they do
their
lots.
everyday IPA.
Like if it's
good.
over the top and ridiculous,
right?
Like the guys that are leading that right now, Ingenious, Martin House, and what's the other one that just opened up here in Houston, and they have one in Austin? Is I'm blanking on it right now, but
You're not talking about NOLA.
No. I'll think of it in a minute, but there's a few that I just love how fearless they are. They just try anything.
They just go for it. Yeah. Well, this is good. This took some doing, I think, to get it right, but they really, really got it right. That's definitely my favorite beer of today.
You know what I like? I like cigars.
Yeah. What cigar would you like to smoke with this?
Oh, with this. So chocolatey. You know that diesel that I gave you last week would go with this.
Yeah.
That rabbit hole whiskey one.
I'd be interested to see how a cigar that's really chocolate bomb would go with this, like
like
a Bella Artez Maduro, for example.
That would be a good one. I think
be interesting to pair. I don't know, be very interesting.
Any brick house or anything like that that's got some good body to it.
Got a little bite. I like it. Well, Ian and I both put down our thoughts and lists since we're doing year-end stuff of our favorite cigars, or our favorite cigars that we smoked this year. They don't have to be released this year. They don't have to be the best cigars in the world. They just have to be things that were notable to us this year. And I'm interested to see what you thought.
So, in no particular order, I just did cigars that I really enjoyed this year. And some of it came from my cigar reviews, and some of it just came from my memory, and I haven't reviewed yet or whatever. But in no particular order, the Oliva 135th anniversary. I mean, outstanding, fantastic. Why is that thing so good? Let's go with the same number, Monte Cristo 135th anniversary.
Nice.
So good. The Partagas Añejo Esplendido. Man,
I remember you loving that one.
that's a great cigar right off the bat. Sancho Panza Double Maduro.
Nice.
Hard to beat that. Padron 45th anniversary is going to be on the top of any of my lists, and I had one this year.
Sweet.
I have one in my humidor too that I'll probably have on New Year's.
Oh, nice. Cap off the old year and start the.
So oddly enough, you talked about it earlier, but that Arturo Fuente Reserva Viejo is one of the better ones I've had this year. Punch Magnum, the Cuban Punch Magnum, is one of the best cigars I've had this year.
Nice.
So here I am on the Cuban thing.
It's okay to have one in there. I don't know, to make it your number one and to have, a fifth of the list be Cuban cigars, I think that's a bit much,
The Arturo Fuente Hemingway short story Maduro. That's a lot to say. I had one of those this year, and that was one of my favorites. So I think that's 7 cigars that I put up on the list. And
Not bad.
you said come up with a list. So just between then and now, I just kind of was like, hey, this one, this one, this one. What'd you come up with?
I came up with the Monte Cristo Nicaragua series. It is an AJ blend, but that's just a really sweetly awesome cigar.
By the way, do you think it's fair to have over half your list to be AJ?
Believe it or not.
And I haven't heard your list yet, but
Believe it or not, only 2 of my list are AJ. That one, and I'll just go ahead and tell you that I listed also my go-to smoke, which is probably the thing that I've smoked the most often this year, is the AJ Fernandez San Lotano Maduro.
yeah, that's a great cigar.
I just love that cigar, and it's it's less than $10. It's not overly expensive, and it's just so good. So so that one and the Monte Cristo Nicaragua series were both AJs, and I dug them both. I have on my list the Punch Diablo Gusto. You may remember I reviewed that one
I haven't tried that one.
a number of weeks ago. It was just a fantastic cigar. The Oliva Serie V Millennial 135, as you pointed out, just can't beat it. And I just added to this list today the Arturo Fuente Reserva Extra Viejo that you also mentioned, which was the one I reviewed this week because it was just so absolutely good. And I also listed a budget smoke, my best budget smoke of the year, the Rocky Patel Mulligan's Eagle Reserve. And you have to buy that from Holtz, but I gave that an 8 when I reviewed it.
I remember that,
on
yes.
price to quality. So because it's very inexpensive, and I got to tell you, if you're walking the dog, if you're going to be in a bit of a breeze and you don't want to smoke your most expensive $300 Cohiba because the breeze is going to make it burn a little hot, or if you're doing what I do, which is put the top down when the weather's nice and smoke on a drive, this is a perfect cigar for that. It's got enough flavor to stand up to it, but it's not going to break the bank if it doesn't wind up being the best smoking experience because of your environment. So love it, absolutely love it. So let's talk about this Imperial from Ingenious and the little book together, because that is almost like it was planned that
it's
way.
a little magical, actually.
Almost like it was planned that way.
So I think the peanut butter and cacao nibs, and then the cinnamon and chocolate that's in this,
There is how am I going to say this the right way? Sometimes
and vanilla.
Sometimes the beers that use cacao nibs wind up with this kind of peppery tang
Like
that
a spice.
that I don't really. It's okay, but I don't love it. This beer, you can taste. That's definitely cacao nibs. It's not like semi-sweet chocolate or something. It's cacao nibs. But the way they use, I think, the vanilla, the way they bring the vanilla flavor out, smooths that out and doesn't make it peppery on the finish.
So,
and I love it.
the
It's
little
absolutely
book-
wonderful.
The little book actually lightens up just a little bit after you take a sip of the Ingenious.
Yes, it does. Doesn't have quite the bite.
When you go back to the Ingenious, though,
After the little book,
after a little book, it gets a creaminess that it previously just didn't have.
you're so right that it's absolutely there.
Like you taste that milk stout kind of thing, that lactose kind of thing that it has going on in there.
You know what I just realized we haven't done?
What's that?
We haven't done your segment from Lone Pint.
Oh.
So is it too late to put it into the show now?
No, I think we have to.
I think we'll do that, and that will be how we close out the show. So before we go there, any holiday wishes that you would like to
I wish
send
for
out?
world peas.
Yeah,
You know, when you take a bunch of peas.
but that's
and
not like the black-eyed peas, is it? Because I'm kind of done with that.
holiday wishes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me put up. Do you want unrealistic or
Oh
realistic?
no, whatever you want to say. Holiday wishes, holiday thoughts.
I wish.
We're closing
I
out.
wish
We're closing out a
politicians-
year of the show.
I wish politicians in general would run off a cliff. And that's
So you're pro anarchy.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's no way to clean up the system, but damn people.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Come on.
Well, I just want to say, as we close out the system, and Ian's visit to Lone Pint, which is one of our all-time favorite breweries, will be our goodbye.
Our closing
It'll
segment.
be our closing segment for the show and for the year. But before we do that, I just want to say a couple of thank yous. Thank you to John, who has stepped in and
Yes.
done a fine job engineering the show and getting everything together for us. Thanks to Adam in the Cloud for post-production now on the show. We miss him. He's going to be back for Christmas, by the way. I hope.
Can't wait to
Hope
see
you
him.
get a chance to see him. And I also want to say thanks to Mary, who handles booking for the show, who's gotten us some very interesting guests. We already have some interesting people lined up for next year. So we're going to salute you and say cheers, y'all, for one final time for 2022. And then Ian will talk with the guys at Lone Pint and take us home.
Man, those guys were a lot of fun.
And thanks to you, my friend. It's been a
Thanks
fun
to you.
year. We love you guys. Thanks for
Happy holidays.
being here. We'll be back after the new year. And cheers, y'all.
Cheers,
Now
y'all.
here's Ian at Lone Pint Brewery.
It's alright when it's okay. Yeah, you never listen to what anybody else says.
So I'm here with Blake Niederhofer, if I'm saying that correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. And what's your position here?
So I'm the head brewer. I'm one of the owners here at Lone Pint, one of the founders. So it's a family business. It was me and my wife and her brother and his wife that got this started.
Awesome. Come on.
You're fine.
That's awesome. What year did you guys start this?
So we just celebrated our 10th anniversary. We shipped our first kegs November 30th of 2012. So
That's fantastic.
yeah, so we got this. We acquired the property in January of 2012 and then shipped our first kegs in November.
Now we're here on a bit of convenience too. Because my band is actually playing outside on the patio. There'll be some.
Speaking of the band.
out there. Be playing outside on the patio, and you have a parade coming through. Is this like a Christmas parade? What's
Yeah,
going on?
so it's the Magnolia Christmas Parade. It's put on by the Chamber. We have it float in it, and it's always a really big night here at the beer garden. We
It's
have
packed.
live music every weekend, so we have a lot of these times where we're very busy. But tonight's especially big because of the parade.
Absolutely. So you come up here on a weekend when you usually here all week. So you came back
Yeah.
to work. What are you drinking up here?
So I'm drinking Zeno's right now. It's our pale ale. It's one of the lower ABV things. It's I knew I was going to be talking to you and hanging out
I
for a while
tough,
this
smart
evening.
questions.
And I still have to make it home. So keep the ABV low. But later on we'll move into the bigger beers.
Nice. What am I drinking here? This is
Yeah, you're drinking the bourbon barrel aged, or no, you're drinking the port barrel aged undead. So it's a ghost pepper porter that we make. We actually use ghost peppers in the beer itself, so you get a little bit of heat. But it was aged after we made it in port casks. So
This is interesting because I'm generally not a big fan of beers that have, or drinks in general that have heat in them like that, like spicy heat. But the heat is almost not there. It's actually the flavor of the pepper and not the heat of the pepper that's happening. And then I tried the bourbon cask one before this, and they are vastly different from each other.
yeah, so
This has almost a wine tannic thing going on the finish. The bourbon barrel one has that real vanilla, like sweetness going on. It's very interesting.
the port's definitely going to bring out that kind of dark fruit jaminess. It's a really solid beer. We do barrel aged beers that we release just in the tap room throughout the year. We usually do one barrel release every month, and then we usually do one big barrel release each year. This year it was our 10th anniversary, so we skipped that. We did a double yellow rose instead of doing a barrel aged beer. And that was basically our yellow rose, but a much bigger version.
Bigger yellow
10% ABV and 90 IBUs, so definitely on the bigger side.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for having us out here.
Good to see you.
Cheers to you, sir. And I can't